So we've dealt with your emails. Now it's time for some eye catchers. Hugh's found 5, all quite different really. A couple unexposed horses for new yards, jumping wise, Smooth Classic and Zamdy Man, and then 3, with all due respect to them, sort of has-beens on the flat or weather, who might just be worth following in the next few weeks. Scamperdale, Nolechi and Climax for tackle. So we'll deal with them all. Smooth Classic, the first one, then at Chepstow the other day, formerly with Warren Greatrix, now with David Pipe. And he caught your eye for a long way at Chepstow the other day, Hugh.
Yeah, no, he's beaten miles in the end here, but it was his first start for a while, and 3 miles in testing grounds, especially when lacking a recent run, I think has tested his fitness. But I just thought the way he moves into the race, you can see he's still on the bridle here, approaching the first fence in the straight. And I thought he'd gone well enough up to this point to suggest that he retains quite a lot of ability. And he just gets very tired very quickly after this, and he doesn't find anything, and he weakens rapidly. And this was his chase debut. And I must admit, when I was watching this, my first thought was, right, he might get a mark after this, and he's going to be very interesting, as we've seen with a few horses with the new novice chasing rules, where you can't go straight into novice handicap chases. He might be interesting in a novice handicap chase, but looking at the BHA website, I couldn't see that he'd got a chase mark for that, so he might need to have another run. But I thought there was enough to suggest that he retains ability there on his first start for David Pipe, even though he's been beaten miles in the end.
Yeah.
And he'd probably need a bit of time to get over that. But
had he jumped well up to that point?
He jumped
Hugh?
okay, yeah. He made a mistake a couple of fences before we picked him up, I think. But he was a horse who, I know, going back looking at 1 or 2 of Warren Gretrix's stable tours, he often got quite glowing comments in those. And he's 9, so he's young enough to still have some potential. I might be wrong about that, because he has been beaten a long way, but he's travelled up well enough to suggest that he retains some ability, and I don't think he wants a real test of stamina like 3 miles in the mud that day.
So that's Smooth Classic having his first run for David Pipe. Also having his first run for a new yard was Zamdy Man at Chepstow on the same day, this time for Venetia Williams in Grade 1 company. That's interesting in its own right, isn't it, that Venetia stuck him into Grade 1 first start?
Yeah, and I think he makes a really nice move here down the outside, then just shapes like he needs the run in the end, because at this stage, watching it now, he looks like he's going as well as most. There's a couple of others who are going as well, including the eventual winner and the horse that falls winning the lead at the last. But he starts to get tired from here on in, and again he has a slow jump at that hurdle there, and he fades quite quickly after that. But bear in mind, most of the horses, I think all of his rivals had at least one run over hurdles, and most of them had won or shown a decent level of form. And he's beaten far enough in the end to give hope that he might be some sort of a price next time in an ordinary novice hurdle. He probably won't. He'll probably be short enough favourite. But there was a lot to like about that, and he was better than the bare result, which is what we're always looking for in these kind of eye catchers. It's quite interesting. He's retained by the same owner who had him with Henry Cecil, same owner as Ten the Nivernais, and he won a maiden on the flat on soft ground in 4 starts on the flat. Yeah, and that was his hurdles debut. So. Yeah. Plenty of promise there, I thought. OK, they're 2 from the jumping sphere. Now, Wolverhampton over the last couple of days. Scamperdale, firstly, who returned to form. Just have a quick glance at him, Hugh. He's now an 11-year-old Scamperdale, and his mark over the last sort of 12, 18 months has absolutely plummeted, hasn't it? Yeah, one of the has-beens, as you put it. But sorry, I thought there was enough. There's a couple of reasons why I wanted to put him. Firstly, I thought this was a definite sign of a return to form, because he's run into a horse, one of the many David O'Meara horses who've been making hay recently, but a horse who's ahead of his mark, and he's produced by far his best performance of recent times, and he's really given the eventual winner a bit of a race in the closing stages, or he's the one who's come closest to giving him a race. Poking through on the inside, and he pulls a fair way clear of the third, and he's dropped to a very handy mark. He'll go up for this, I would think, but he'll have a few days to run if they can get him entered. And this is the time of year. Brian Boss, he hasn't had a winner for a while. I think he's still on a bit of a losing run, but he's had a couple that have looked like they might go well soon. And this is the time of year. He's a trainer who gets winners in clusters. We've moved swiftly on to Nolechi.
I'm afraid we have to.
That's okay.
The clock's against us.
Okay, fair enough. Nolechi is a horse in the cheek pieces on the inside. And I think this race just didn't run to suit him, in that the horses at the front have got away off a steady gallop. And there's nothing about him that we don't know. He's another grizzled old handicapper who doesn't win that often, perhaps, but I like the way he made up quite a lot of ground from the rear in a race where he was certainly the one who, there were 2 or 3 who made up some good ground from the rear, and he was probably the most eye-catching of them all.
And here's another eye-catcher as well.
Yep.
We've got to move on to Climax for Tackle, who, seemingly from the wilderness, was expected to run well here the other day, was well backed, 72 favourite, and stepped up on form as well.
Yeah, and really ran into an Albrecia. This was a good day for the Shropshire Wolves owners, and Albrecia turned in a much improved, well, I would say it was much improved performance in a very good time. And Climax for Tackle, who needs a strong gallop at this trip and kind of needs them to stop in front. Well, all the others did, but the winner was way superior. But when something like this happens, sometimes you can find that the horse that finishes second to a horse that's a runaway winner probably won't get put up at all, and she's shaped like she's returned in very good form. This is her second good run on the trot. She does need a good gallop, I think, at this distance. They've still got the option of putting the visor back on her, but she looks like she's returned in very good form.
So they're the 5 then: Smooth Classic, Zambly Man, Scamperdale, No Lecce, Climax for Tackle. Our time just about done.